Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kristen. It's been a minute. I'm wearing makeup, like literally, who am I? But I'm so excited to be filming again. I took about a month break for personal reasons. I was going through it, but now I feel better. I spent a week on the East Coast, like at a beach house, chilling, reading. So I'm just ready to be back and filming and putting out content for you guys and having a great time reading. But here I am with my September wrap up. I will be talking about the 5 books that I read in the month of September. So the first 2 books that I want to talk about, Jade City by Fonda Lee. I have an entire reading vlog on that I will link in the cards if you want to check it out. But I mean, I absolutely loved this book. I also picked up Jade War in the month of September, and I also finished that book. So if you don't already know, Jade City and Jade War are the first 2 books in the Green Bone saga by Fonda Lee. In these books, we follow the Call family. They're the next generation in a lineage of family members that control the island of Kekon. They protect the rare magical jade that the green bones possess that give them superhuman abilities and allow them to have really good senses and super strength and things like that. The Call family are in charge of the No Peak clan, and then you have the Mountain clan. These 2 clans are rivals, and they're going head and head against each other. There are tensions that turn into a full-blown clan war between the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan. Again, I will link my Jade City reading vlog in the card so you can watch that, and I will quickly talk about my thoughts. I absolutely love this story. Fonda Lee does a really good job with building a world that is actually really interesting, because I usually don't like politics in a book. Like, it usually bores me when there are heavy politics being discussed in a fantasy novel, but she does it in a way that still keeps you engaged and makes you want to learn about this world. And so that's something that's really new for me. I also enjoyed pretty much all of the characters in this book, except for, like, you know, the villain that are in this book, but even some of the villains. Okay, so I didn't like Barrow, which is one of the villains, but then Atmata, the leader of the Mountain Clan, I kind of enjoyed her character. So pretty much I liked all the characters. I will say that I enjoyed Jade City a bit more than I enjoyed Jade War. Jade War took me a bit longer to read than Jade City did, and I think that's kind of because I ran into a bit of a slump in the middle of September when I started Jade War. I stupidly decided to start 4 books at once in the middle of September, and then I ended up not finishing any of the books. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was so pumped to be reading and enjoying Jade City and wanting to get a bunch of books read in the month of September, but it ultimately didn't work out for me. But I did finish Jade War. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I gave Jade City a 5 out of 5 stars. So it was still very enjoyable. Whereas Jade City was fast paced. There was action pretty much throughout the whole book. Jade War was a little slower. It had more politics, which I still enjoyed, but it just wasn't balanced enough with action. There wasn't as much going on with the characters as there was in Jade City that had me so in love with these characters and wanting to be their friends. Jade War didn't get really good until towards the end of the book, where we get into the meat of the plot and all the plans that were being devised in the beginning of the book come to fruition. And so that's when I was like flipping the pages the same way as I was in Jade City, was towards the end of the book. But overall, I really enjoyed both Jade City and Jade War, and I'm very excited for Jade Legacy, which is coming out next year. And the cover is blue, which is my favorite color. Maybe I'll come back on with a blue look when Jade Legacy comes out. We'll see how I'm feeling. The second book that I read in September was The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson. And that's the book that the Brains and Books group, my group of friends, we decided to all read this book during the month of September. We planned to all vlog this experience and upload a video, but unfortunately that didn't happen because, like I said, I was going through it during the month of September, and so that just didn't happen for me. But I did read the book. In this book, we follow Maya, who has been kidnapped and placed in this garden called the Butterfly Garden by a sick man. In this garden, this man has kidnapped a whole bunch of young girls. He does whatever he wants to these girls since they're his now, but now the garden has been discovered by the FBI. Maya is taken in as a survivor, so we can hear her perspective on what went down in the garden. The gardener, the man behind this evil plan, has been taken into custody, and now we're just trying to figure out what happened in this garden and what is this garden really about. Firstly, this book is super short. It's less than 300 pages. It's on Kindle Unlimited if you have a subscription to that. It's on there along with the audiobook, which is what I listen to. I really like listening to audiobooks along with reading the actual book, and since I don't read too many ebooks, I thought that the audiobook would help me get through the book a bit faster. But I actually did enjoy the audiobook because there are two perspectives in this book. We get the FBI agent perspective and then we get Maya's perspective. And in the audiobook, the FBI agent is narrated by a male narrator and then Maya is narrated by a female narrator. And so when the FBI agent is talking, we are in the present, like we're in the interrogation room, the FBI agent is talking to Maya. But then when Maya is talking or when she's responding to the FBI agent questions, it's in her voice and it's like we're taken back, like a flashback type thing of when she's in the garden before she was kidnapped by the gardener, which is what the man calls himself. The gardener is really a sick man. And for Dot Hutchinson to even think of this concept, let alone write a whole book about it and more books, because this is a series, okay? Like this is not just a standalone. There are 4 books in this series, so there's more to come. And it's just really blowing my mind that somebody really sat down at their computer desk and wrote the story because it was very sick. This book is marketed as a thriller, but it's not really scary as in you're gonna be up at night because you think a demon is in your closet, but it is like creepy in the fact that it could happen. This story could happen in some shape or form. Young girls are kidnapped all the time. Who knows what's happening to them while they're in captivity by whoever has kidnapped them. For the most part, these girls are not in love with the gardener. They know that they've been kidnapped and this is not a situation that they want to be in, but they also know that there is no way to escape. So they do what they have to do to survive while they can. So the gardener, he captures these girls when they're about 16 years old, maybe 15, and keeps them until they're 21 years old. And when they reach 21 on their 21st birthday, he kills them and he keeps their body. He fills their bodies up with resin and puts them in this glass case so that they can be preserved, that their beauty can be preserved, because he thinks after you reach 21 that you're not beautiful anymore. Like, I don't know. At one point of the book, we do get like his villain origin story, you know, like flashback to his childhood and what his dad was like and things like that. So it makes sense weirdly why he has an obsession with young girls and butterflies. And the crazy part is I really enjoyed this book. Like, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars because the way that the story was told was very clever, I think. Again, the two perspectives from the FBI agent and Maya, we're getting like both the past and the present all in one without it being choppy. It's very flowy. I really enjoyed Maya's personality because she was more blunt and honest and just accepting of her fate, whereas other girls were of course like scared and wanted to cry all the time and things like that. But Maya was a strong character and she ended up being his trusty sidekick, not in the way that she was participating in any of these vulgar behaviors, but he trusted her. He would come to her and ask her opinion on a lot of things and she would give him her honest opinion no matter what. I actually do want to continue on with the series because I think it's all on Kindle Unlimited, so why not? And I did enjoy the audiobook. This story was just really sick. There's so much more that was embedded into the story that I didn't talk about. For example, the gardener has 2 sons, 2 very different sons, and they both play a role in this book. Very interesting. He has a wife. Very interesting. So Dot Hutchinson did a very good job constructing this story. She did what she had to do. The 4th book that I read in the month of September was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson, and I listened to the audiobook. I finished it in one day. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I am shook. I died and had to be brought back to life because Tiffany D. Jackson literally killed me with this book. I finished this book. I immediately hopped onto my Instagram story and I talked about this book because I couldn't wait for the wrap up. I had to talk about it to somebody right then, or else I was going to explode. It made me so upset. For those who don't know, Grown is a new release. It's a New York bestseller already, which I'm not surprised because it was that good. I hadn't read any other Tiffany D. Jackson books before, but now I'm like in love with her, and I'm going to read all of her books, her backlist, anything new that she releases, I'm going to be reading it. But a quick synopsis of Grown. We are following Enchanted Jones, who is in high school. She is 17 years old. She loves to sing. One of her best friends sends her to a singing competition audition. She goes there, she meets the legendary R&B singer Corey Fields, who is 28 years old, by the way. He forms a relationship with Enchanted, tells her that, you know, he's going to make her the star. He loves her voice. He thinks she's beautiful. He thinks she has it all, and she's gonna be this huge star, and he wants to take her under his wing. By the way, this is based on the R. Kelly case, so if you know where I'm going, you know where I'm going. Corey Fields obviously manipulates Enchanted Jones into having a relationship with him. This is another book that was just so crazy to me, similar to The Butterfly Garden, because in this case, this actually happened. Like, we heard about it last year whenever this was released with the R. Kelly case and the documentary that came with it. So I just think that all young adults should read this book. All teenagers need to read this book so that if they're ever in the situation, they know to run and to not believe the charm that they may see on the outer part of whatever person is trying to capture them and manipulate them. Because just like Corey Fields showed his dark side, just like R. Kelly showed his dark side, there is a dark side. Even though this is not a pleasant story, it has mature topics discussed in this book. I still think that teenagers, that young adults should read this book, because these are the people that it's affecting. And so we need to be educated and aware and know what to do if ever we're in the situation. Men can be so manipulative. It's really gross how they just think they can assert their power onto young girls and that there won't be any consequence for it. And it's crazy because they know that what they're doing is wrong. Corey Fields knew that what he was doing was wrong because he had so many protocols in place just in case he were to get caught up with the police, with parents, with whoever this authority figure might be. He was ready. So he knew that this was wrong, and yet he still continued to do it to Enchanted and to other characters in this book. And it just really hurts me that these men are taking away the innocence of these young girls. And from there, yes, in this case, Enchanted was saved. Corey Fields had his consequences. You guys can read about it. But still, it's not like you just go back home and your life is back to normal. You're traumatized. You have all these flashbacks, which is also portrayed in this book very well. Enchanted is a traumatized girl. She shouldn't be traumatized in this way at her age. Obviously, there are lots of horrible things that young people go through. But in this case, this is just a situation that just should not happen to anybody. And I need people to get it together and deal with their childhood trauma problems that they're bringing into their adult life and projecting that onto young girls and taking away their innocence. Mental health is a real thing. I need people to take it more seriously. I need the Black community to take it more seriously, to be specific. And I just wish that the stigma around mental health, the stigma around therapy was just not a thing, because therapy is so helpful. It's a wonderful resource for people who have went through things that they don't know how to heal from these things. Because if you don't heal from your traumas, you're going to act out in your adult life or act out later on in your life, and you're going to hurt people along the way. Again, I'm gonna say, please read this book. Whether you're a young adult, you're a teenager, you're a parent, you're an aunt, you're a grandma, I don't care who you are, you need to read this book and educate the young people around you, educate the older people around you who are perpetrating these behaviors, take them to therapy, help them out, whatever they need to do to get right, they need to do it, okay? So that's my message for this video. Please, everybody, read this book. Believe people. That's another thing. In this book, people were not believing Enchanted or saying that she asked for it. You know, the typical, you wanted it, your parents were trash because they knew what was happening and didn't do anything. I don't know why anybody would come up with this if they're not telling the truth. It really doesn't make any sense why they would just make all these allegations. There are other ways to get money out of people if that's what people are going for, but to talk about manipulation of young people, like that's not fake, that's real people. Believe these people. This book made me sad, angry. I wanted to punch a wall. I definitely had to pop some melatonin because I was really in my bed just awake and angry. Tiffany D. Jackson destroyed me with her book, and now I'm gonna read every other book she writes ever in existence. I am a new fan and I love her, and I want y'all to love her too. Okay, to end on a lighter note, the last book that I read in the month of September was A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. I did start this book back in June for Blackathon, but I never finished it, and it's just been sitting on my TBR ever since then. So the last couple of days of September, I just decided to finish this out. A Blade So Black is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. We follow Alice, who becomes trained to battle monsters in Wonderland, but she also has a regular life in Atlanta. She lives with her mom, she has a best friend, things like that. Her battling the monsters is sort of a secret from her mom and other people in her life, so she has to kind of navigate that. Alice's mentor is poisoned in this book, and so she has to go on a quest in the dangerous Wonderland to find the antidote while dealing with a villain who is trying his very hardest to make sure that the antidote is not found. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I unfortunately just wasn't emotionally connected to the story. I wasn't really feeling any of the characters. They were not my cup of tea in this book. I wasn't connected to the plot either. I still like the idea of this book, and I did enjoy parts of the book, and I did enjoy the way that L.L. McKinney retold this Alice in Wonderland story. Her take on this was a very unique and creative take on Alice in Wonderland. It still very much felt like Alice in Wonderland with the nonsensical part. You know, they use Curious Sir. There's a character in the book who kind of speaks nonsense. You're just like, what are you saying? She has to take a potion to make sense, you know, so the average person who is not from Wonderland will understand what she's talking about. So I really did love that. Yeah, I just don't have that much to say about this book. I just didn't connect with any of the characters or the plot really, but it wasn't a bad book. I feel like loads of people would enjoy this book. Loads of people have enjoyed this book, and so I would still recommend it, and I'll probably still read the second book and continue on with the series. Maybe the second book will be better and introduce some new characters that I connect with and enjoy. So those were the 5 books that I read in the month of September. I had hoped to read a bit more in September, but then life just went left and I was like, no. So unfortunately, I didn't read as many books as I wanted to. I was participating in Bookathon, but that in no way or shape was completed, so I failed. But that's okay because I still had a great time filming the TBR and trying a hand at a TBR game. I'm just happy to be back talking to the camera, talking to y'all. I missed y'all. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.